All right, I guess we are ready to get started. So welcome, everybody. Members of council, members of the public joining us here in the gallery, those who are joining us online here at our beautiful historic City Hall in downtown Summerside. Welcome to the monthly council meeting of January 19, 2026. My name is Dan Kuchar. I'm the mayor here and the chair of the meeting, and I will begin by calling our monthly meeting to order here at 6:31 p.m. Two quick minor amendments to the agenda for council. One, to strike item 4A, the junior mayor report. It was a no school day today due to the weather, and that's happened to us now 2 years in a row, and the junior mayor report will then be pushed back to the next council meeting when hopefully there will be school. The last would be as well, council, I proposed just to add under item, we will be at the in-camera would be item 4, which would be MGA section 119E fire hall tender. So with those two amendments to the agenda, I call for a mover and a seconder with respect to the agenda before us. Deputy Mayor Snow, second. Councillor McDougall, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any changes, revisions, opposition? Hearing none, we will move ahead. At this point, we begin each one of our meetings here at the City of Summerside by acknowledging that the land upon which we're gathered is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abogway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 10,000 years, past, present, and future. At this point, I'll ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda this evening. Seeing none, we're checking right along. Moving into item 2, minutes. I will call for a mover and a seconder for the following group of minutes. The monthly meeting of December 15, 2025, the in-camera meeting of December 15, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting of January 6, 2026. So move Councillor McColman, second Councillor Morrison. Any changes? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Changes, revisions, opposition, seeing and hearing none. I will move to the next series of minutes. This is just for members of Planning Board. I would call for a mover and a seconder of the members of Planning Board with respect to adopting the Planning Board meeting minutes of January 6, 2026. Chair Duran, second Councillor Trenholm. All members of Planning Board in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Seeing and hearing none. All those minutes are adopted. At this point in time, item 3, this is an opportunity for any member of council to speak to any accolades or recognitions over the course of the past month. Seeing and hearing none. Again, we'll move to item 4, public presentations. As I said, 4A is off and be postponed to our February meeting. We begin with a presentation from the coldest night of the year. We have most of the crew here, so we'll invite you up. Corey, you're the spokesperson this year.
Margie Fowler, Don Reed. They're a critical part of the team that helps lead Coldest Night of the Year. Coldest Night of the Year is a 2-kilometer, 5-kilometer walk in support of, to raise awareness for homelessness and to raise funds to address homelessness. And there are lots of things I've learned in these 5 years. This is our 5th year with Coldest Night of the Year. 2 of them are this. Number 1, thinking about our city as a whole, there is no place like Summerside. The incredible generosity of our people is just, it blows me away every single year. And especially if you're able to go to Walk Day this year, and some of you have been there, there's a spirit in that room. I go to lots of meetings and lots of events. There's no meeting like that. There's such a great spirit in that room. So that's the first thing, is the generosity of Summerside. And for whoever's watching that's in Summerside, you live in a great city, and we're just proud to be here. And the second is this, knowing in very practical ways, City Council's alignment with the cause as well, and really appreciate that. And so you are in sync with the heart of our city as you've supported us in these years. What do we support? Well, take a look. It's Lifehouse. And I want to make a joke that how could you not know about Lifehouse? You do know about Lifehouse because you've supported it so adamantly over the years. And so I thought I would share, I wouldn't share myself a little bit about that, but Shelby's going to share a little bit about Lifehouse, and then I'll come back and close.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corey. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shelby Petrie. I'm the manager of the Lifehouse Women's Shelter here in Summerside. You guys know everything that we do. We have the emergency shelter, 8 to 12 week stay. We have our transitional home, and then we also have our 24-unit permanent housing. And thanks to your guys' approval the last time I stood here, we have an up-and-coming brand new emergency shelter as soon as we get some money. But it's approved for you guys, so it's coming in. We couldn't be more excited. And we couldn't do it without the generosity of Summerside and the coldest night of the year. With the Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser, we were able to purchase the land on 86 Cedar for our transitional home and fully furnish it all. So I always like to say when people are walking, every step they made, bought a pan, every step they made, bought a bed sheet. When the ladies come from the shelter and into the transitional home, they come in fully set up. They don't need to bring a single thing other than a change of clothes. We make sure that with community donations, they're fully set up with the food that they need. We get them to the food bank. Sorry, my babysitter was late, so I sprinted here. I'm exhausted. And I'm nervous. But yeah, the coldest night of the year, thanks to Corey and the team, has been instrumental in the work that we do, and we couldn't do it without your guys' support. And thank you to those of you that came to the launch party. It made it that much more special to have that representation from Summerside out with us. So thank you. Do you want me to keep going more about our programming and stuff, Corey? What do you want me to talk about? I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah,
Stats?
A few stats. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the last year, we had 79 women and children in our beds, and we had over 1,200 bed nights. So that means each bed in our shelter was utilized 1,200 times. And we also had over 250 calls for service, which means that's 250 women that called that we were not able to serve. So that new shelter is going to be instrumental again when we can get that open. And the more women that we have, the more programming that we can do. So right now, we offer a program called Strengthening Women's Group. And through that, we do very formal groups such as budgeting, resumes, interview skills, but we also do really informal things like self-care nights or conversation starter cards, just that rapport building. And then in that night, we also do a group cooked meal. So they're also learning life skills such as cooking, cleaning, how to properly grate cheese, how to properly peel a potato, things like that. And then we eat at a round table. So they're building that rapport, getting to know each other and their staff there. So they're getting to know the staff on a more personal level. We also do tons of parenting groups. I myself facilitate Handle with Care and Parenting Without Power Struggles. We resource out for Triple P. We've had Triple P facilitators come in multiple times. And we also just started doing in the last few months Meal Prep Monday. So every Monday, we buy all the ingredients for everybody to take a casserole home. So the thing is, bring your own casserole dish, and we leave with everybody having one casserole to take home for themselves and their kids. So we make 15 casseroles for everyone to take home. And it's really beautiful seeing everybody work together. They're all divvying up who's gonna cook the meatballs, who's gonna cook the rice, who's gonna boil the sauce, and the teamwork that comes from it is absolutely amazing. And all of that programming couldn't be done again without the generous support and donations so that we can afford those groceries. And we can afford the electric bill for the stove that's going for 4 hours. So it's really, really amazing to see how everyone has come together to support Lifehouse, and we really couldn't do it without Coldest Night of the Year and this team because they raise so much money. It's amazing.
Just like there's no place like Summerside, the reason that we volunteers are part of this is I can't think of, as I've gone far and wide, is there any place like Lifehouse? Like Summerside, it's a gem. I mean, we wish we didn't need it, but we do. And because we do, I just can't think of another organization that gives the supports, but then also leads people from literally off of the streets into transition and in permanent housing. And I believe that you know, like, what a treasure that is. And that's why we support Coldest Night of the Year. And we invite you and the whole community to do that as well. And it can be just as simple as walking with us on February the 28th at the Credit Union Place. Or it could be that you might want to start a team or join a team, because teams are the backbone of it all. And just asking for support from even your dear old mother, if you can. And
Mom joined or made her own team and stole all my money.
oh, this is good. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And then also for the city to consider sponsorship. We invite you to do that each year. Thank you so much for the time that you've given us here today. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them as well. And of course, we want a picture. And Nick, I'm looking right at you. Not about the picture thing, but I realize that you've started a team, and you know, we got to get you up that board. So it's kind of friendly competition.
Like I said to you, I'm very, very competitive.
I'm poking that
So
bear.
Anyone who wants to join my team, they're more than welcome, but also donations are also welcome.
Well, I made a Facebook post saying that Exit Realty was the team to beat. So
Yeah.
bring it on.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Shelby, and Don and Margie and Susan, who are all here, and the whole team, and all the people who were there last week at the Boys and Girls Club at the launch, and for 5 years in a row. And as you said, Corey, 1,200 nights in a year, that's pretty big. And this council, geez, I think it was maybe 2 months ago when we had a presentation from the emergency shelter. There was another 2,500 nights, and then there's Notre Dame Place, and there's Winter Street. You know, when 5,000 nights, give or take a few, in our city in 1 year, people who needed somewhere to sleep, and yourselves stepping up to make an incredible contribution. So I can speak for all of council. Thank you for the work that all of you do in helping us share and build a beautiful, wonderful city for everyone that we enjoy it with.
Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation.
Can we get a picture? Is that okay to get a picture?
Yeah, I think every year you guys like to do a photo.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay, sure.
Yeah.
As long as that's okay with everyone here in the gallery. You all right for 2 minutes? Okay, great, awesome. All right, we'll jump up and do a quick photograph, and then we'll keep going.
All right, everybody ready? Big smiles. Everybody say burr. And I have one more camera. That's the nicest face I've seen today. Okay, everybody smile.
Great, thanks. And don't be shy, anyone in the gallery, nor hesitant to get up and go in and out. So you don't feel like you have to wait for a special gap. You can get up and we won't hold anything against anyone. All right, we'll move on to item 4C, which is the seed recommendations presentation. So I understand this work's been going on for a number of months. We've got an incredible committee of community members. Presentation tonight, Councillor Trenholm, is the draft report, is that correct? That's correct. And then there will be a couple of public meetings and then a month open for public comment. So just for council's background information, this is the draft preliminary presentation. The final report will be presented to council at a later date. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Councillor Trenholm, Chair of the Seed Committee.
All right, well, it definitely is an honor to be here. It's a pretty fancy mic we have on this side of a couple more buttons, I think. I guess I just want to remind everybody that, yes, the committee's been going on since September, but we're not expecting any decisions tonight from council. That's important. There are a couple verbose documents, I suppose. And the idea here is tonight we're going to talk about the process, how we got where we're at, and also talk about a summary of the findings. And so you'll notice that at some point there's going to be 30 municipal recommendations. So at best or at minimum, I might provide one sentence for each, just to give council an idea. Certainly if there's any questions along the way, you can let us know, or hold on to them. But we're also looking for direction in terms of where council would like to, I guess, how to approach, because it's a pretty large documents. And so any feedback, I know someone's already commented that what they would like to see or some ideas. And so if anybody else has any ideas or priority items that they say, I'd love to have more input on that, we can look at that. So I will say that the gentleman beside me is Chris Wheeler, and he's a member of the committee, and he's going to be coming in at the last leg of the presentation. He's coordinated 2 of the recommendations that are in our committee, so the transit and handy bus, as well as the home and yard program. So having that fountain of information on the committee and being able to present in the city is pretty powerful. And we figured that would be 2 probably key programming or service areas that council may have some questions with, and maybe to front load that with just what the concept is at this point might help. So I'm going to see how these, oh nice, so excited. I'm trying to get comfortable back here, guys. Just there. All right, so there are 2 documents. So one is the report and the other is the working draft supplement. So the supplement itself is roughly 200 pages. And it talks about the process. So there's going to be the evidence, just the background information that we have. Also implementation guidelines, and 4 items, just in terms of how it could potentially operationally work, and also draft policy. The whole idea around having draft policy is we desperately know how busy staff is and how much time it takes to produce anything in terms of the workload, and we don't want to add more work. However, being able to provide a supplement that has very detailed draft bylaws in it, I think we could move it forward. So if council so chooses to work on, say, a bylaw, then we would present a draft bylaw already in the document that might speed the process up, just for that. Okay. So essentially, the Seed Committee was council directed and primarily composed of community members. So each were appointed, as we're aware. The objective, to deliver actionable recommendations to City Council that reflect the priorities and needs of seniors in Summerside. And I think some seniors are behind me who attended some of the sessions. And then the mandate is to serve in a fact-finding and advisory capacity to City Council. Also to conduct focused engagement that empowers local seniors to identify gaps and areas for improvement. The primary function was to work at what can the city do or municipal matters, but also the secondary is what partnerships could be with the province. I will definitely say that the committee took at heart, really lived to the key, the mandate, the amount of engagement and the amount of focused intervention and recommendations. I would say that we definitely outreached great well. So timeline, we're looking at September is when it started, and March would be the implementation deadline. So members of Seed, some are in the gallery tonight, but I'm just gonna first name here: Mary Jo, Bev, Maureen, and Peter, Glenna, Anna, Debbie, and Christopher. Peggy is the lone staff, and I would be the council member. So as you can see, members of the public are strategically, I think, outnumbered by staff and council for the reason that we truly have our handle on what the community have assessed as a need. And I think in many of the meetings, having members who the community are really comfortable to talk to, I think it really played out well when they got our recommendations. That's just a sidebar. Community engagement. Here's where I would say we just shown, I was very impressed. Surveys, 184 surveys, 2-question surveys. What's working well? What would you like to improve? It was both paper and online, and the information is included verbatim in the report, in the supplement. We wanted to make sure that every single comment was included, because even if the committee did not make recommendations to move on that, it still is in the document, and maybe at some point council or the community itself might say, well, let's just bring that up. Maybe that's what we want to focus in on now. Common room meetings, great. So that we had in apartment buildings, there's common rooms, and so there's 110 who attended, and 171 were seen. So we also went door to door in the apartment buildings, and 408 were reached. Many seniors live in communities that don't have a common room, right? So we went to those neighborhoods door to door. We're quite familiar as councillors going door to door, so altogether 385 door to door, and 143 they opened the doors and had a little conversation, and we picked up 29 surveys. So we would visit 1 week and return the week after and tell them that if you want to leave your survey, just leave it in your mailbox, right? Really trying to encourage more people and go where they live, go where the seniors live to take out the limitations there. And we had many stakeholder meetings as well, from long-term care, the geriatrics program, churches, senior events, and etc. And electric bills, so we did a mail out to all residents, both paper and electronically. So out of all this, we had a lot of ideas. We have a lot of ideas. And so we had 200 ideas by the time we started to have community focus groups. Now, community focus groups, there was 2 sessions held, and it quickly became as the committee that if we have these community focus groups and we could hear most of the same information, perhaps, and new information, but what's the best way? We don't want to come back to council with 200 ideas and recommendations. That's probably not going to work very well. So we realized that bringing in almost like a phased approach. So phase 1 was gathering all the information. Like I say, over 200. Phase 2 was looking at, let's let the seniors themselves prioritize. The seniors being the experts of what seniors need. So that's what we did. So we looked at the 200 plus, we narrowed that down to 105, put those in as a committee and asked the seniors, you tell us what the priorities are. These sessions were massively engaged. The feedback was extremely positive. It's hard to, it was a wonderful experience, I think, to hear so much positivity and people looking for ideas and solutions and bringing them forward. And each table, there was a seed member of the committee facilitating each table discussion. For myself, I really took a step back. I really wanted this to be the community shaping the community. And so as each community member of the seed committee was engaged at the tables, like I say, the feedback was phenomenal, and the outcome, we ended up with 21 top priorities. So we went from over 200 to 21 top priorities that these tables, there was 9 tables altogether, identified. So obviously they carried a lot of weight. However, the most ironic thing is, of course, when we went to the community focus groups, there was also more ideas introduced because we want to keep the door open. So then we ended up in total, if I were to look at it, it's over 300 ideas. So how it turns out here, I'm going to fast track here to there's 30 municipal recommendations. Now I have a couple slides here, so I'm just going to quickly go through here that there's some which are government, bylaw, or planning docs, which take staff time or council time, but doesn't necessarily take direct costs. So I'm just highlighting those. There's another slide I can talk about. If you're looking at services we already provide or no direct costs or could provide or enhance, they're in blue. So as you can see, the majority are coming through. Now these are direct or indirect costs. We would range it in the low. So we have these three. And again, I'll talk a little more about them later on. And direct costs, which are high, those. So I'm just, in the interest of time, I've created here, if we're looking at the bylaw and government. So outdoor public amenities. Now we see that listed number 3. So this would be the third priority. So when the committee came together, we said this is the third priority. So we ranked every issue, and outdoor public amenities bylaw was ranked number 3. A backup power and emergency outage bylaw, number 7. And any of these ones, if anybody has any questions, I can respond to it. But again, this is a high-level understanding, and we can have a couple more committee of the whole meetings to discuss it as well. But affordable housing units bylaw was put forward as well. A sidewalk policy, inclusion of a 24-month work plan. So the current sidewalk policy that is in this at the city right now, the committee's recommending, but also developing a work plan that could identify sidewalks that are already on existing streets. Accessible emergency procedures bylaw. This is one, many of them when I read, I can see the exact person who first introduced it to me and or to us, and it always brings back some emotions, I guess. And nothing here is here without being backed by the senior and their community. Each has many numbers of stories to tell and needs to be identified. So I'll go to secure lockbox bylaw. I know council, we've talked about that just recently in terms of having something to that or exploring that further. That's also recommended by the committee. Common room bylaw. A mobile home policy. I know we've also looked at that and talked about that as council in the planning committee. But that as well. So for some of these bylaws, including these, there are draft bylaws, which is in our supplement. And the crosswalk policy, in terms of where it is with the city right now, it's a 2012, but it's not gone through council approval. And then there's been 2 Transportation of Canada's recommendations or guidelines published since the 2012. Building from the crosswalk policy is a 5-year RRFP plan. And the EV charging station bylaw, in short, that EV charging stations have been, or are in, at some cases, the cords are tied up in the pedestrian walkway. So setting a bylaw that doesn't limit or harm pedestrians walking in the way. And an active transportation plan. So that's 40%. So it's 40% would take, again, time. It takes time. But the planning or policy or bylaws doesn't take any more resources. So this is the list of services already provided, or maybe new but doesn't have any direct costs. Again, this is ranked number 2. Advanced out-of-city medical travel. Now, we're fully aware that the city doesn't have any jurisdiction to where could that happen, but advancing it is extremely important because it's certainly identified as a critical need that seniors have, if it's medical appointments in Charlottetown or Moncton or Halifax, are lacking that transportation and not able to get to the medical appointment. And there's so many organizations out there now that even in Crapo, an individual started a private company. So by advancing it means what can the city do to promote that it is in need, and how can we promote that? Subsidized housing inventory. It's pretty much what it sounds as most of these are actually. It's looking at a list of housing that is subsidized and how to apply. Intersection sightlines audit is an audit that a number of sightlines have been identified and to go through, and I would assume be the bylaw officer to do that. Activity calendar is much tied with the seniors roadmap, a guide, but the activity calendar is and has been a consistent top priority for the senior community, is that they just not knowing what's happening. Now, when I say activity calendar, we can call it an events calendar, but it's so much about inclusion, bringing the community and the seniors together. And there's some seniors who are really prone to isolation, and this type of calendar would be a big asset for the community, for the seniors. But also this would be inclusive calendar. So it could be with tags, for example, family activities, children activities, etc. So it could be used just not for seniors, but for all demographics. The seniors roadmap, again, this was a big item that where do I go for support and services in Summerside? Even who do I call when I have an issue with garbage at the city or unsightly properties, or who do I contact, right? Just little things like that has been identified. An increased police presence in known areas, another recommendation. And benches in memory programs. So the importance of having benches out in the public is definitely identified, very much so. But the idea of having a program, which would cost the city nothing, and have residents have an in-memory program for benches. That was introduced at the community focus group, actually. So it never reached the surface until we reached there. So it was wonderful to hear. Now again, another advance here. So advanced business accessibility. Another item that really brings back, I can see images of seniors and talking to me face to face, is that there's lots of the community and the seniors can't access buildings. They said that they want to go pay a bill, but they can't access the building to pay a bill. So items like that, how can we've got both concrete examples as well as general, but how can we do that as a city, working with, say, the Chamber of Commerce or even with our Economic Development Officer, and working with contacting the city and explaining these are the funding opportunities, but also some specific businesses that may want to look at making some changes or improvements. Free Seniors Cup membership. The committee has recommended that if seniors qualify for the Seniors Independence Initiative, then that would come, that if they qualify for that, then that should also tie in with the free cup membership, right? Now, there was some discussion, this was a high priority for seniors, there was some discussion that should it be tied to income or not, and we certainly leave that up for council's discretion. If council would like it to be universal, then it could be. But if it's tied with the Seniors Initiative, the Seniors Independence Initiative, that's what the committee is recommending. A volunteer service directory, pretty straightforward. Active living programming, so there's a number of items that were identified. The committee's isn't at a place to recommend specific programming. There was a lot of ideas generated, but there wasn't really any consensus. But there could be an opportunity for active living programming, and as I'm reading that, maybe even culture to come in as well and look at what they might be looking to provide. And the third is underused spaces. Okay? So looking at underused spaces in the city that could be used for senior programming. So if we're looking at that, that's 40%. So I was pretty good at math. So I know that's 80% right there. Now, 80% that doesn't, it's cost, but not direct costs. So if we just jump into what we've determined direct or indirect, just low costs. This is ranked 5. It's a walk-in clinic incentive. Why my brain just freeze there. Incentive grant. There's 2 grants we have here. One is a walk-in clinic and then also as a respite care. Obviously, having some type of walk-in clinic in the city, we haven't had one for a while. And can we have some type of incentive grant to entice, to encourage a walk-in clinic? The committee believes we could. The committee believes we could, and certainly has put it ranked 5. That's pretty high. Respite care, again, an incentive grant. There's definitely respite care as the needs only continues to grow in the city. And cup accessibility audit. So there's a number of items that the seniors have identified, and it's not per se in maybe the internal, but some of the external, as well as the swimming pool and temperatures and that kind of thing, just to make sure that it fits the standard. That's just an audit to see where it fits. Because I do know that the temperature of the pool has been addressed as a concern, and I know there's been some concessions made, but I think maybe having an audit to look at it and see where we fit. Is it aligned where it needs to be? Then great. If it's not, can we improve it? That's 10%. It's funny how these all equaled out to even percentages. We didn't even plan that, Chris. And the third, these are the big ones, I guess you could say. Transit and handy bus. So clearly that's number one. Transportation was engaging. You could not have any conversation with anybody without talking about transit. The issue is the current transit system. If I can quote one person who said, well, I moved into an apartment because it was really close or on the transit route. Then the transit bus doesn't have a lift. So it doesn't help them. So when you hear how isolating it is for seniors, they legitimately moved to a place and downsized to an accessible, so they could accessibly access transit, and the bus itself is not accessible. So there's a number of issues with the current system that seniors have identified that is in the report, but certainly tying transit to a handy bus system, which Chris will talk about after, but it's a high priority and high need. A vulnerable residents registry, IF/program. This was again ranked top 4. This popped up with the seniors talking, and it came loud and clear in the community focus groups. It's more, right now we do have a vulnerable population, I believe, but this is more about doing those safety checks, those wellness checks for the community. So when the seniors or even people with mobility issues don't have any supports, how do you check in? How do you check in and support them? And then the third one, the home and yard maintenance program. So again, Chris, this is the other item that Chris will talk about. This was a major obstacle for many seniors to staying at home and staying in place and living in space, right? They're not able to, if it's mow the grass or fix the fence or do the weeding, things that are really important to maintain independence and dignity, and they're just not able to. So I'll be looking forward to Chris's presentation on that. So this next slide is just for those people who are interested in what category do those fall under. So the good news is I'm not going to talk about it. The only thing I will mention, because I see them highlighted, is that we do have veterans crosswalk, and it's not prioritized because it's something that has been identified, and it's something very simple to do, and it's definitely a priority. And also there are some specific say, pathways or priority streets that are senior related. So in that case, around Frank Mellish and the hospital and the housing, Lafergie Avenue around the seniors housing, and Starlight around the seniors community. And there may be others, but that's what we have at this point. But I'll move on. So provincial, this will be a short slide. I mean, I won't a lot of talking. Some of it's going to be probably, I'd say, in agreement that these are some issues. Healthcare access. So I won't talk about every one in these because although provincial is extremely important, I mean, it doesn't fall within the municipal jurisdiction, but being able to identify them and what role can the city have. So there are a number of items in all of these, but essentially if you're looking at how can we have more physician and nurse recruitment, a walk-in clinic, a monthly seniors health clinic, just some ideas. Again, there's, in our report, it'll go into more detail, and if this is an area where council say, I want more information on, we can easily present as well. So housing and stability. So we want to reduce the seniors' social housing wait list. Right now there's 52 seniors in Prince County that are waiting. Now, we certainly recognize that the province has been doing a phenomenal job at reducing that over the period of time. However, I think more can be done to support seniors. Now, if we're looking at tiny home housing first options, that's another recommendation, as well as to enact the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods Act, and to enhance the Seniors Independence Initiative, which is essentially increasing the funding a little bit, but also maybe even more importantly, offering, instead of one lump sum payment, maybe doing quarterly payments. Long-term care, again, it's a big need for the seniors, and in terms of the committee, and assessing, do we need a new long care facility? And in terms of the benefits of that from the health system, the wait list in the hospital, the beds in the hospital. I think that's well documented. Now, what's maybe more creative is creating a partnership between the province and the municipal government here, and looking at creating that outdoor walking loop or space, dog parks, and the public long-term facilities, and AT pathways, connecting, and even having a playground in partnership with the PCH. These are all in terms of intergenerational, and this comes directly from the care team and managers and support team at the long-term care. Can't help but think how almost no better, and someone said the joy of children laughing and just animals, it's like magic. It's just magic. And I don't know, I think it would be a wonderful, obviously. But, okay, we're almost done. Thank you, everybody. So mobility and equity, things, I guess, change, or the funding options change. So one recommendation is that the mobility device funding, it changes as they could become 65. So what they're eligible for. So just doing a study to find out if that is true, and how can that be changed. Annual mandatory driver's assessment for 80 plus. So that'll be free and annual. So if you're 80, be annual testing on your drivers. And then there's some Confederation Trail as well. So an assessment on whether paving, lightening, or benches, remove or widen the gate gap, and also winter maintenance. As during one of the community group sessions, I had a call, and it was all this excitement, and yeah, that's what the person said, the community maintenance, the winter maintenance. So in terms of timelines, and if you're looking at the public consultation phase, it's open now, and it'll be open until February 23rd. I'd say the major event is January 27th, so that's, I guess, next week. Looking at it's at the Cup from 10 a.m. to 11, on 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So it's January 27th, I'll repeat, from 10 a.m. to 11, and 6 to 7 p.m. An opportunity for the recommendations to be displayed in a large font poster board. Members of the seat committee will be at each individual table, an opportunity to ask questions and get into, I guess, detail into what these are. There'll be a short presentation, and then people can meet one-on-one with the community members that sit on the committee and ask questions. And we really want to know as a committee if we hit the mark, right? Is this what you heard? This is what we listened to. But is this what you said? And how do these fit your needs? In addition to this, we are having a survey as well, just so we can identify if we've consulted with you, are your words represented in this report? And if we didn't consult with you, or you didn't involve the feedback, what's your level of support for this? Is this something that you do support or not? I think in terms of when you're looking at our mandate to engage the public and engage the community, I think that's one of the final, I guess, I's, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So, and with the final report, hopefully by March 2026, could be in April 2026, but I guess when it's done, and we want to make sure to give enough time for council to have their feedback and guide us along the way too, because there are a lot of recommendations, and we'll figure out how we're going to word everything and decide. But I know Chris is in the key, but does anybody have any questions on this, on my presentation at this point?
Councillor, what I would maybe do, just in the interest of time here, because we're 30 minutes in, if you're okay with it, if council could send you questions separate after the meeting, they'd be able to do so throughout obviously the month, but if council are okay with that, instead of going through the questions now, maybe council can take this, there's a lot in here, look into some of the particulars and reach out to you directly with respect to some of those particulars, if that's all right.
Yep, sounds wonderful.
Does that work?
Yep, thank you.
Is that okay for council? Okay, great.
All right, I'll just pass it along to Chris.
Great. Okay. Hello, thank you for inviting me here today. As Councillor Trenholm mentioned, my name is Christopher Wheeler. I'm fairly new to Summerside. I've been here since September of 2023. My wife and I moved here from Whitehorse, Yukon, where we lived for almost 50 years. This is actually my second time addressing council. I read a poem here for National Poetry Month about 2 years ago, I think, which was a ton of fun. So, at any rate, I made the mistake of filling out one of the forms that Councillor Trenholm included in the electrical bills, and I tend to get carried away, and I wrote a lot, and so he asked me to join the committee, and that's the other reason why I'm here. So. At any rate, for background, in my professional life, I have coordinated a handy bus service for the city of Whitehorse. I also worked for a while there as a CSR before that. I have also coordinated a seniors home and yard maintenance program for the Yukon Council of Aging in Whitehorse. I was going to just talk openly without any prompts, but that could go on for a long time. So what I did is I wrote it down today so that I wouldn't keep you too long and I wouldn't get carried away. Anyway, so home and yard maintenance program, we'll start with that. In part because it represents a more recent experience for me, and also in part because it is a simpler and much less costly recommendation than transit. At a minimum, this program can be coordinated or administered by a single person. While there are probably a number of ways to organize a program like this, in its simplest form, it is just a way of pairing seniors and workers. As we age, there are more and more regular tasks associated with independent living that become difficult or impossible for fading physical and or mental faculties. Despite this truth, given a choice, many seniors would prefer to remain in their homes, in the homes that they know and in the neighborhoods that they are comfortable with. What's more, from a government perspective, the longer a person can age in place, the lower the cost and the less strain that will inevitably be placed on the social supports that society is responsible for. What we need to recognize is that given the nature of aging, it sometimes isn't one major thing, but a combination of relatively minor things that can move people into assisted living situations. Being able to keep your home clean, tidy, washing your windows, cleaning your roof gutters, repairing plugged drains or leaking faucets, organizing your files, getting your garbage to the curb, well, these are all chores that we generally take for granted and perform in the normal course of events. Not being able to cope with 2 or 3 of these can be enough to help push someone out of their home. It's the seemingly minor everyday things that can often make the difference between living independently or living in care, and between remaining healthy longer or declining faster. A home and yard maintenance program recognizes that the minor things can be taken care of by connecting clients with people who are willing to help. How it works. When you do get a chance to take a look at the report that Councillor Trenholm has prepared, the seed supplement includes item ITO2, which goes into some detail on this, but I'll go through some of it here as well. Essentially, the program, at least the one that I was associated with, collated a list of seniors who needed assistance and another of workers who are willing to provide assistance. Both groups would go through an onboarding process that required the completion of an application form, the signing of a waiver, and agreeing to work within the rules of the program. In addition, prospective workers had to pass a vulnerable sector criminal record check. One of the primary concerns of any program like this is the safety of the clients, obviously, right? Okay, so once on board, seniors would call into the coordinator with work requests. The coordinator would match the requirements of the senior to an appropriate worker and determine if the worker was interested in taking the assignment. Once an agreement was had, the senior was able to connect with the worker, and the two together would arrange the details of where, when, how, etc. One drawback to this system that I noted when I was involved was that the requirement for a criminal record check limited the people who could take on work assignments to adults only, as criminal record checks of youth were not possible. And personally, I feel that a program like this would benefit greatly from a modification that would allow youth to participate with supervision, but without the need to pass this particular requirement. Connecting seniors with young people can offer huge community benefits. I would suggest employing both a coordinator and a worksite supervisor to make this sort of approach more doable. In any event, in my experience, this sort of program can offer huge benefits to seniors in keeping up their homes in order to age gracefully in place. It also provides an even bigger boost to working age individuals who need access to job opportunities in order to flush out their income. re-enter the workforce or find meaning that for one reason or another is lacking. Some workers may even be healthy, fit seniors who simply need a little added income. Every city and town hosts people who find it difficult or impossible to thrive in typical 9-to-5 occupations, but who can shine when given the scaffolding to work for others as a kind of independent contractor. That's what this program does. I have personally seen marginalized people who, as a result of their involvement in a home and yard maintenance program, eventually build successful independent businesses. I've also seen seniors who are considering their future care options decide to remain in their homes for longer than they otherwise would have. I think this sort of thing ties in nicely actually with the presentation we saw earlier from the folks who ran the shelter, right? It is my opinion that success or failure of this sort of program hangs heavily on the shoulders of the coordinator. You absolutely must find an individual who can work well with a variety of different personality types. They must be patient and most of all empathetic. I can't emphasize that enough. Often both the seniors needing assistance and the workers required to provide it are people who also need to talk things through with a good listener. In terms of the mechanics of the program, it should be noted that the operator is a facilitator, not an employer. The client is expected to pay the worker for their labor. The way we ran the program in Whitehorse, the scope of a job and the time required were normally set in advance. The rate was established and understood by all clients and workers, and the client was responsible for paying the worker on completion of a job. The coordinator always followed up with both client and worker to ensure that everything went well. If there were concerns expressed by either party, these were noted in both client and worker files. While the Whitehorse program did not have the funding to cover worker pay, I would like to suggest that any prospective program here should be funded at least partly through government and private donations so that low-income seniors can have the occasional job subsidized by the program operator. It may even be possible to connect seniors with established companies that have partnered with the program and agree to do occasional jobs either gratis or at a discount as a way to support the communities less fortunate. There are many ways that this program could be tweaked and expanded to improve life for seniors in Summerside and help them age in place. So that's more or less my brief for that program. Moving on to the transit system. In addition to the home and yard maintenance program, Summerside seniors were very supportive of a city-run municipal transit system. As Councillor Trentholm noted, it was a very, very important issue for people. It was one of the highest priority items identified. More information can be found in the SEED supplement. It's item ITO1, so please take a look at that. Like the home and yard maintenance program, an effective and efficient municipal transit system facilitates aging in place since it addresses critical needs. If we considered something like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we know that in order to realize our creative and personal potentials at any age, we first have to satisfy more basic requirements like food, water, housing, and such. Those are physiological needs, and transit provides a sort of access that makes some of these possible. However, moving up the list, it facilitates safety and includes self-actualization by giving people access to the activities and socializing that can help someone realize their potential. It is no wonder that transit was seen as a top priority in our SEED committee consultations with Summerside seniors. In fact, I suspect that a similar consultative process undertaken with other demographic groups would result in a similar highlighting of the need for a good transit system. The importance of accessing options to services, work opportunities, shopping, recreation, and so much more cannot be overstressed. If we value our people, our business sector, our environment, as I'm sure we all do, transit cannot be ignored. Back to senior concerns. As we age, walking long distances can be impossible, and the same can be true for riding a bicycle and other methods reliant on our own strength and agility. Driving a personal automobile can be restricted by eyesight and other physical limitations, or by the sort of financial constraints that are not uncommon for those on fixed incomes and reliant on CPP or personal savings. Depending on family members for rides here and there, when that is even an option, means sacrificing your independence to work around the limited and often busy schedules of others. In all these cases, transit may be the only realistic and reliable option available for shopping, socializing, medical appointments, and much more. There is no question that an accessible, robust, and reliable public transit system really must be a feature of any growing city with aspirations to remain attractive and vibrant in the modern Canadian context. With this in mind, I was encouraged and pleased to see that the City of Summerside had already commissioned and been presented with a transit feasibility study. That was 2023. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to do so, and while a feasibility study may only provide a limited idea of what can, might, or should be considered, it is an excellent starting place. Yours makes some excellent observations and suggestions, in my opinion. As someone who has worked as both a CSR and a handy bus coordinator at the City of Whitehorse Transit Department, I have some insights into how transit systems work and can be run. As noted earlier, some of this is outlined in the SEED supplement. Please take the time to read that. All of this said, and unlike the simplicity of a home and yard maintenance program, building a city-run transit system will require a great deal of money, planning, and infrastructure development. It is no small undertaking, and it shouldn't be. A good transit service can help make a city more livable for its established residents, while also, and this is critical as you look into the future, make it very attractive to prospective citizens. It can recommend the city for businesses and important regional, national, or even international cultural and sporting events that might otherwise pass it by. That said, planning is essential. If you get it wrong, it can be a costly burden. Summerside, by undertaking its feasibility study and by starting with what is essentially a blank slate, is in a great position to plan it out correctly from the start. Design the routes, build the shelters, hubs, service, and administrative buildings, make decisions on fleet vehicle types, integrate planning for a handy bus service, establish driver and other staffing requirements, set expectations and recruitment objectives, etc. Don't forget that transit is seen as a green initiative, which creates opportunities to potentially access provincial and federal capital. Build a good system that isn't too big or inadequate to your needs, remembering that services get used if they exist to meet demand, are accessible, and if that accessibility is communicated effectively. Communication, we noted throughout our process, was one item that came up consistently about city programs and other programs in the city. Good communication is critical to make any program successful. Let's carry on here. Whitehorse Transit, where I worked, a city, by the way, that is comparable to Summerside in size, operated an extensive transit system that probably rivaled many larger centers, and it did so in a harsh northern environment where winter temperatures are routinely in the -30s or 40s. Here, with your much more moderate climate, you would have options that Whitehorse could only dream of. Yet the system there was effective and well used. Low floor and kneeling buses made access as inclusive as possible. All public transit buses there were fitted with bicycle racks, which encouraged citizens to embrace a healthier lifestyle. Cycling at least part way and riding the bus when required. Fares were kept affordable, and advertising space helped offset the cost of operating the city's not insubstantial fleet. For those who were unable to access standard buses, a handy bus service was also operated by the same department. While a regular transit system typically utilizes buses that run every half hour or so on timed routes, a handy bus service generally books rides by request and operates from door to door or from door to specific stops. Bookings can be phoned into a transit coordinator who uses software linked to route area maps that will calculate shortest route, transit times, and passenger manifest while retaining data for monthly or annual statistical purposes. I would suggest that some jurisdictions tend to see handy bus services as an expensive luxury while focusing on the larger passenger service. This is a mistake. If transit is developed properly from the ground up, it is possible to imagine a system with a limited number of busy, regular routes and multiple request-only areas served by smaller, accessible handy bus type vehicles. This creates the possibility of integrating regular customers with handy bus clients and reducing the number of larger, more expensive buses in favor of smaller, more fuel-efficient units to service subdivisions where there is less demand or clients with more specialized traveling needs. All handy bus units would need to be configured with deployable wheelchair ramps or lifts with spaces and appropriate tie-downs on board. All buses, both full-size and smaller, have to be fitted with two-way radios, GPS, closed-circuit cameras, and recording devices. So as you can see, there's a great deal involved in designing and building a transit system. Please read the information I referred to earlier, and I don't want to go into any more details because this could take forever. I could talk for days on a transit system. But if you do have questions, as noted earlier, feel free to contact Ken, and I'm sure he'll relay them to me. Thank you.
It's a great presentation. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Councillor Trenholm. To the same, to your points, Chris, lots jumping off the page there that I'm sure there's lots of interest in and desire to discuss further. So I will reach out to council here and suggest that we do the same thing as with all the recommendations, that council reach out to you and to Ken and to the committee as we go through the public consultation phase of the draft report. And again, I think I can speak for all of council for thanking all of you in the gallery, all the individuals who knocked on doors, went to community rooms, sat down at the plastic fold-up tables and tried to make sure you balanced your coffee in a way that didn't spill on a neighbor or a new friend or newest enemy if you spill it. And you put the time and effort into building community, starting from the ground up. That's where not just ideas come from, but that's where the foundation of a strong, vibrant community and city comes from. It comes from building at the start, on the floor, and then working our way up together. So thank you for all the effort that you've put in and the work that you still have to do. You are through one gate, and you know you have many more gates, and sometimes they are more difficult, or they sometimes change as well. So really appreciate all the work. Thank you, everyone, for your commitment to this community and making it as best as we all can together. Great. We move on to staff presentations. We don't have any further presentations from staff, so we'll through item 5. Item 6 as well, there are no appointments to any committees this evening. I think Ken was leaving. 10, you have to stay. And we'll move on to item 7, introduction and reading of bylaws and resolutions. I'll hand it over to Deputy Mayor Snow for resolution COS 26- oh, we're starting again, right, 2026. 26-001.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution COS 26-001, moved by myself, Deputy Mayor Corey Snow, and seconded by Councillor Carrie Adams. Resolution adoption of revised council meeting schedule. Whereas the City of Summerside procedural bylaw authorizes council to establish the date and time of its regular meetings by resolution. Whereas council wishes to establish a meeting schedule that includes one committee of the whole of council meeting and one regular meeting of council each month to enhance efficiency, transparency, and policy development. And whereas this resolution will be effective as of February 1st, 2026, be it resolved that council adopt the following monthly meeting schedule effective immediately. Committee of the Whole of Council meeting to be held on the first Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. and regular meeting of council to be held on the third Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. Be it further resolved that the city clerk be directed to update and publish the council meeting calendar accordingly, and B, issue all required notices under the Municipal Government Act, and C, circulate the schedule to all departments.
Thank you, Deputy. Resolution COS 26-001, moved by Councillor Snow, seconded by Councillor Adams on the floor. Further comments, questions, discussion from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, we will call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the resolution is carried. All right, we're 1 for 1 on resolutions. With that, I'll hand it over to Councillor McDougall as Chair of Finance. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I do have a resolution here, moved by myself, and it's Resolution COS 26 dash, must be 2, but there's no number there. But anyway, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Drown. Whereas the City of Summerside, formerly the Town of Summerside, established the Employees Pension Plan, hereafter referred to as the Plan, with effect from November 1st, 1966. And whereas the right is reserved to the City of Summerside in Section 21 of the Plan to amend the plan from time to time, and whereas the City of Summerside wishes to amend eligibility criteria for available optional forms and introduce the ability to waive entitlements to contingent annual benefits. Therefore, be it resolved that the plan is hereby amended effective February 1st, 2026 as follows. 1, Section 14 is amended to allow members with a spouse to opt into a single life form of pension. A, as the amended provisions read before the effective date of this amendment, in any case where a pensioner who did not have a spouse at his or her retirement date dies before 120 monthly pension payments have been made, payments will continue to be made to his or her beneficiary or estate, whichever has been designated, until a total of 120 monthly pension payments in all have been made, unless the member has elected an optional form of pension in accordance with the options below, in which event the benefits payable will be governed accordingly. In lieu of the form of pension described above, a member may elect to receive a pension of equivalent arterial value payable in one of the forms described below. A life pension guaranteed for a certain period, members without spouses only. This pension is payable for the member's lifetime in any case, and if desired, for a guaranteed period of 5 or 15 years. In the event of his or her death prior to the expiration of the guaranteed period, monthly pension payments shall be continued to the member's beneficiary or estate in accordance with his or her designation. B, the provisions as amended. In any case where the pensioner, 1, who did not have a spouse or at his or her retirement date, or 2, who along with their spouse has waived the right to a survivor pension upon death of a member in accordance with Section 16, dies before 120 monthly pension payments have been made, payments will continue to be made to his or her beneficiary or estate, whichever has been designated, until a total of 120 monthly payments, pension payments in all have been made, unless the member has elected an optional form of pension in accordance with the options below, in which event benefits payable will be governed accordingly. In lieu of the form of pension described above, a member may elect to receive a pension of equivalent actuarial value payable in one of the forms described below. A life pension guaranteed for a certain period, members without spouses or for whom contingent annual pension entitlements have been waived. The pension is payable for the member's lifetime in this case, in any case, and if desired for a guaranteed period of 5 or 15 years. In the event of his or her death prior to the expiration of the guaranteed period, monthly pension payments shall be continued to the member's beneficiary or estate in accordance with his or her designation. Section 2, Section 16, or I should say 2, Section 16 is amended by adding the following. Waive of contingent annual pension. A member who has a spouse may elect to the form of pension specified for members without a spouse under Section 14 provided. 1, the member delivers to the plan within a 12-month period immediately preceding the member's date of pension commencement a written waiver of both the member and the member's spouse, and 2, the waiver is not revoked by the minister or members of the spouse before the member's date of pension commencement. This resolution is made upon the recommendation of the Finance Committee meeting held on November 20th, 2025. And I should add that this is a recommendation that came from the Pension Committee. So.
Thank you, Chair McDougall. Resolution COS 26-002. You're getting ready?
No.
002. Moved by Councillor McDougall, seconded by Councillor Drown is on the floor. Questions, comments, statements from members of council? Councillor Cameron.
Just trying to keep things going really
Yeah,
quickly.
that was great.
I have two things really quickly. They really don't have much to do with this. I want to say very good job to Councillor McDougall for making sure he said his and hers through that entire thing, because it is written just as his. And I would just like to make sure that when this is actually written and adopted, that we're not using gender-based language in that, and making sure that it applies to everyone and not just males. Thank you.
Councillor McDougall, I think you then good to pick up on that, Councillor Cameron. Councillor McDougall did amend that before he came in and read off the updated one, so it's great. Further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The resolution is carried. Thank you, council. Thank you, Councillor McDougall. All right. Moving along, right along. Item 8, department reports. We'll begin with finance. Our finance representative, Councillor McDougall. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a report here by Director Kristen McDonald. Good evening to my colleagues of City Council and businesses and residents of the City of Summerside. The preparation of our 2026-27 capital and operating budgets are well underway, and Council will begin their deliberations in early February. We expect to present this budget to our businesses, nonprofit organizations, and residents on Wednesday, March 11th, and vote on the budget on Friday, March 27th. A reminder to nonprofit organizations who were approved for a community support grant for the fiscal year 2025-26 to submit their final report, which was due on December 31st. Thank you for those organizations who have submitted by our deadline. The Finance Committee priority is to complete the debt metrics to accompany our debt management policies, and these metrics will be presented to the Finance Committee at the meeting, our next meeting to be held in late January. Customer utility balances that are past due have increased since the December report. The total past due balance of $426,800 is comparable to the amount reported in the January 2025, which was $420,300. However, the balance outstanding for more than 90 days has increased significantly and is now approximately double the January 25 level. Of the $70,300 outstanding for more than 90 days, over $39,800 relates to 2 commercial accounts. A payment agreement has been accepted for 1 account, and the payment is in full is anticipated for the 2nd account upon completion of our property sale transaction. 3 accounts remain disconnected due to non-payment and will not be reconnected until payment is received. Customers who receive a collection notice are strongly encouraged to contact customer service at 902-432-1230 to discuss available payment options. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. If there's any questions?
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing none, we'll move on to our representative for governance, HR, and legal, Councillor McCollum.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening to all colleagues. I would like to thank Director Kendra Gunn for providing the Human Resources Department report. December was a busy month for payroll with year-end procedures and preparing for a new payroll cycle. Staff attended a virtual year-end seminar hosted by the National Payroll Institute, as well as they liaised with the city's medical health plan provider on a number of inquiries. Bless you. Staff liaised with workers. Staff liaised with workers' compensation, PEI, regarding incident reports as well. They worked with the city's pension plan custodian to address inquiries from staff and pensioners. Current job postings include lifeguards, aquafit instructors, and a police constable. The selection process for a part-time dispatcher also continues. Staff also attended the monthly Joint Occupational Safety and Health Committee meeting and City Hall Joint Occupational Safety and Health Subcommittee meetings. Holiday programming was offered to staff to attend Culture Summerside's Christmas Through the Ages, which was an exhibit that took place on December the 12th. As well, City of Summerside Talk with Connection to Employment STEP program participants was held on December the 9th, and work continues on preparing the department budget for the 26-27 annual year. The department director continues work on bylaw and policy review process. As well, department staff continue to support various departments and work with external counsel on staffing, human resources, and legal matters, including drafting and reviewing contracts and leases and supporting civil claims. And just a couple of points, the power line personnel efforts consisted of, I don't know if this is part of HR or not, it might be an operational for another department on the back of mine. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is, yeah. Anyway, so that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments, questions? Any questions for Councillor McCollum? Seeing and hearing none, we'll continue along here. We have Representative Morrison for Municipal Services. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report was prepared by Director Greg Goody, and I want to thank him for that. Public Works, Water and Sewer Utilities highlights. The month of December for road maintenance has been one of salting and plowing. Salting of sidewalks and streets occurred 24 times, with plowing snow occurring 10 times. The water and sewer utilities have finished all the testing and commissioning of the new capital water lines and sewer lines for the capital works projects until next construction season. The 2025 annual reports on operations will be ready next month. The electric utility highlights. The electric utility has been actively scheduling and dispatching resources to meet customers' electrical needs for this winter. Electricity needs for Summerside Electric has grown by 8% year over year. This is due to electrification and a colder start to winter over recent years. With the power plant fire, the resources able to be brought to the task of providing electrical demand have been decreased, tightening an already constrained electricity supply. As those aged assets continue to be relied upon heavily for electricity supply, the assets' age is becoming the limiting factor. In the first quarter of 2026, Summerside will be issuing requests for proposals for an engineering feasibility study and an environmental screening report to add a liquid fuel generator to its resources. With the new year started, the customers of Summerside Electric are asked to be mindful of their electrical needs to assist the community in beating the peak. The hours that are the highest demanding on the electrical system are between 6 and 9 a.m. and 4 and 8 p.m. each day. Customers can see hints and tips on the website summerside.ca/beatthepeak. And I believe Director Greg Goody was on Compass tonight discussing some of that stuff. So, and once again, I want to thank him for his report.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Any questions from Council? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to Councillor Cameron, representative for Arts, Culture and Diversity. Councillor?
Thank you to Director Lori Ellis for this report, which captures some highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from mid-December to mid-January time period. Heritage and Culture Awards. The City of Summerside is seeking nominations for its annual Heritage and Cultural Awards. The awards are given out to individuals and groups which in 2025 carried out activities to preserve, promote, educate, and celebrate heritage, arts, and culture in the community. The city recognizes the role of heritage, arts, and culture in building a strong, vibrant community and believes it is important for these endeavors to be recognized. The public is invited to nominate candidates for the awards, and the deadline is February 25th of 2026. The Yuletide celebration, Wyatt Heritage Properties, Inc. and the City of Summerside presented in partnership with other community organizations Yuletide in the month of December. As part of the celebration, a taste of global flavors was offered to the community. This portion of the event fostered a building of new relationships as various community members worked with the city to prepare and present culinary tastings from around the world. This event offered food tastings that represented 11 countries. Yuletide also incorporated our city's Christmas tree exhibit once again. The visiting public and schools have offered positive feedback regarding their visit during the event. Also during the event, ECMA award winner and Culture Summerside staff member Mike Dixon played music, and students of all ages joined in singing of Christmas and holiday songs. And lastly, we have student wage grants. The deadlines are being met in the area of grant writing proposals and reports are being submitted to government organizations pertaining to past programming and proposed programming for summer, fall, and winter of 2026, as well as summer student wages. And that report was written by Director Lori Ellis.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to item E, Technical Services Representative and Chair of Planning Board, Councillor Drum.
Thank you, Your Worship. The 2025 construction season has now closed, with several private projects continuing through the winter months. Work on the east-west housing corridor remains ongoing, while earlier supply chain delays have been resolved. Recent progress has been affected by cold weather, high winds, and subcontractor staffing challenges. Staff continue to work toward full project wrap-up alongside other 2025 capital works. And I believe the goal is February at some point, hopefully to have that corridor open to the public. In December, 8 building permits were issued with a total value of just over $1.7 million, bringing the 2025 year-to-date total to 190 permits valued at $48.6 million. These permits included 1 commercial change of use permit and a mix of residential projects, including semi-detached units, a single-family home, a detached garage, and some residential alterations. From a longer-term perspective, the building permit data shows a clear structural shift in Summerside's development activity. Between 2005 and 2016, annual permit values generally ranged between $18 and $20 million, with only occasional spikes near $40 million. Since 2017, permit values have consistently increased into a higher baseline range of $39 to $49 million annually, with several exceptional years reaching the $80 to $100 million due to large-scale projects. The 2025 total of $48.6 million falls within this post-2017 typical range. While it does not reflect the extraordinary peak years, it demonstrates sustained and stable development activity rather than a decline, reinforcing that recent growth is part of a longer-term trend rather than dependent on one-off projects. With developers already engaging staff on proposed 2026 projects and capital planning underway, the current development environment points toward continued steady construction activity in the coming year. Residents considering projects in 2026 are encouraged to connect with staff early to take advantage of planning and permitting support during the winter months. And thank you to Director Aaron McDonald for preparing the data.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Any further questions for Councillor Duran? Deputy Snow, you're already jumping ahead, or do you have a question?
No, I'm jumping ahead.
All right, everyone's jumping ahead tonight. I can't even keep up on my paper. All right, Deputy Snow, Representative of Economic Development and Growth.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a brief update from the Department of Economic Development. Economic Development continued to facilitate and manage a high volume of client and investor interactions, totaling more than 90 unique or 60 unique touch points since the previous reporting period. Areas of inquiry included the business directory, downtown investment opportunities, business performance metrics, signage, the Port of Summerside, commercial and industrial space availability, and immigration pathways. Engagement from out-of-province brokers, representatives, and realtors increased during the reporting period, representing a noticeable shift from the pre-2020 activity levels. General discussions and inquiries involving professional developers reflect growing external market awareness and interest in the city of Summerside. Marketing and investment readiness efforts related to the region advanced, including preparation for distribution of finalized brochure. These efforts are positioned within a broader strategy to strengthen downtown investment, attraction, and positioning. In mid-December, New Life, New Heights was relaunched with a formal edition of ADL, joining the 2 existing participating companies, MDS Coating. MDS Coatings is anticipated to be added in the near term. In collaboration with Prince County Hospital and Health PEI, staff supported and delivered a physician recruitment tour of the community, highlighting Summerside's professional opportunities and quality of life advantages. This includes the economic development report.
Thank you, Deputy Snow. Any further comments, questions from members of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to emergency services and communications. Councillor Representative Carrie Adams. Councillor?
Thank you. Just before I start, can I ask that for the department reports on the agenda that the councillor representative name is added to it? Just
Yes, I've already made a note on mine.
okay,
to
yeah,
ask
because
that
just when
and
people
written them
are
in.
going through like YouTube, if they're looking for something, they would, you know, scroll till they see Corey stand
Certainly.
up or Norma
Yep,
stand
noted.
up.
And they normally are.
Yeah.
Yeah, noted for the future. Yep.
Okay, so quickly, I did want to just ask Corey on the economic development one, the New Life, New Heights, how much time do we have left on that thing we're doing with that? Can we,
It sounds like it's been relaunched. I don't know the exact time frame. So it was running previously and then it stopped for a
Okay.
bit and relaunched. So I can get back to you with the exact time.
I've just had different, I've noticed it, I have some questions about it, but a couple people had just thought it just seemed sort of different from anything else we were doing, so they were just wondering this strategy behind it, and I just said I would ask. and
Yeah, no,
Maybe the whole thing could
I'll
be-
send an email off with Mike and see dates and I guess the new strategy or relaunch meeting. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I can go into fire services really quickly, and thank you to Ron Colton for this. During the month, firefighters responded to 28, I'm sorry, and I said Ken Colton, I said Ron, 28 calls. The breakdown is as follows. There were 7 medical first responder calls, which I believe are coming down compared to what they were, so I think a letter that the city sent in regard to that has helped significantly. 20 silent alarms and 1 general alarm. Training, firefighters took part in 197 hours of training in December. Ice rescue, skill station, and repacking pre-connects and drain pumps. Also note this year's proceeds from the Santa Claus Parade are divided evenly between the Summerside Kinsmen, the Salvation Army, and the St. Elner's Lions. Each group received an even share of $8,100 to go towards their Christmas appeal programs. So that's a good chunk of money for sure. Summerside's fire call volume is another strong indicator of our growing city population. In 2025, we answered a record 432 calls for assistance. In comparison, we answered 220 in 2015. Okay, and if there's no questions on that, I'll just go quickly into Chief Blackear's report. December was busy, as always, assisted with the annual Christmas parade. December 11th, they hosted the junior mayor and council. They have done staffing interviews for the position of dispatch, and on December 19th, Corporal Drew Beatty was recognized as the Municipal Police Officer of the Year at the annual Crime Stoppers Awards ceremony. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any further questions, comments from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move over to Councillor Trenholm, representative for Community Services and Tourism. Councillor?
Sure, thank you. I want to thank Robbie Rankin for this report. I'll start off with the Summerside Dome. At the Dome, we continue to host a number of sports organizations and teams. We just successfully hosted one of our busiest nights on New Year's Eve. We look forward to the installation of our new multi-sport court set to be installed this month. Active Living Summerside. Active Living wrapped up another busy and successful season of holiday programming, and now we're shifting focus towards launching our active winter lineup once our outdoor facilities are ready for use. We're preparing for upcoming PD days, including March Break Camp, and continuing to plan larger scale programs around key holidays throughout the year. Planning is also underway for our annual Summer Fun campaign, as well as spring programming. We are in the early planning stages for our annual Shipwrights Run. At the Confederation Bridge Aquatic Center, New Year's Eve event went wonderfully, and planning for the winter swimming season lesson plans are underway and will be launched in January. Front desk and bowling lanes. Front desk was busy with gift cards and 10 for 10 packs leading up to the holidays. meetings, conferences, and conventions, 28 convention center rentals in December, many being holiday celebrations, and the 25 bookings were at the Oval. And the Ocean 100 box office, December saw us host 6 Summerside Caps games, including the school day game, which is always a fun one for the kids. Centennial Cup early board packages ended on January 1st, and packages are now selling at a regular price of $325. Stars on Ice was a great success. Everyone in attendance really enjoyed the show. Attendance and ticket sales met the expectations for the event, and we had lots of fun and positive feedback. Green Spaces began operation of outdoor winter facilities, including installation of outdoor ice services and grooming of the park trails at Rotary and Heather Moyse, cleaning and service of heat pumps at Parkview Seniors, St. Elmers, and Wilmot Community Centers have been completed. Continuing regular seasonal maintenance duties at the Credit Union Place, City Hall, Police Station, and Community Centers. Planning for upcoming Rotary Park Rundown event at Rotary Park in early February, and the 2026 Parks and Green Space Planning. Finally, on sets, host committees continue to meet the plan for the 2026 Centennial Cup and the Noah Dobson Hockey Fest, who is now a Montreal Canadian, of course. Both events have finished up their early bird registration and are now available at the regular price. Okay. All right, thank you. That concludes the report.
Any questions for Councillor Trenholm? Seeing, hearing none. Thank you, Council. We will adjourn our council meeting. I will ask Council to stay back and a few members of staff to proceed with the 3 items on for in camera. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, members of the public. We'll take 5 minutes there. Thanks.